Hi, my name is Rusty and welcome to my 9.8.4 home theater. I went with JTR because I heard them at M-Wave during the show and also at one of the tour homes that we went on, and they were great, and I came home and placed an order. I have two JTR RS2s in the front, and those both have an 18-inch driver, dual 18-inch drivers. In the rear, I have four 18-inch drivers. Those are Dayton Audio UM 18-22 in the Parts Express cabinets. The sound is just amazing. I've never heard a set of speakers that I could play loud and they never fatigue and they never struggle, and they sound so great. My wife never even asked me to turn them back down. This is my refuge. I love being able to come in here and retreat from the world. It's an amazing experience. I'm grateful that I've had the opportunity to share this with you, and hopefully you'll be able to experience something like this yourself someday too. Yeah, so I've been working on a project that I hope to be able to share with the world in the near future. When I first got into home theater, I was overwhelmed with the amount of information that's out there and the conflicting information. And so what I'm working on is to take all those many hours of research and agony and analysis paralysis and simplify it down and to create a tool to share with the enthusiast community, especially the beginners that are just getting into it and are intimidated by the amount of information. But a website where all of the research is consolidated and simplified to make it easier for people and more approachable and less intimidating. And so it's something I've been working on for a while, and I've gotten a lot more serious about here recently. So I hope to be able to share that more in the near future.
Welcome back to the Everything is Bigger in Texas home theater tours. I'm your host, Hatoraid Cowboy, and for the next 3 days, I'm in Dallas, Texas, shooting 4 home theaters. We've got Klipsch, we've got JTR, we've got Focal, we've got high-end home theaters, we've got budget-friendly home theaters, and I can't wait for you to see all of it. But right now, we're actually going to be touring a complete JTR home theater courtesy of this guy right here. But before we do that, I want to send a huge thank you out to Jeff Permanian for sending out these awesome JTR polo shirts. For those of you that don't know, Jeff is not only the owner, but he is also the engineer, designer. He builds all the JTR speakers, so appreciate you, Jeff. Rusty?
Hey, man.
It's good to see you again, man.
Man, it's glad to see you.
Yeah, man. It's when did we first meet? It was earlier this year at M-Wave, right?
Yeah, M-Wave.
June?
Yeah.
June, somewhere around there, May
That's right.
or June, something like that. Yeah. So we're going to talk about your speakers. We're going to talk about your setup, all the stuff that's in your rack. But before we do that, I kind of want to get into your, I don't want to say personal life, but how you kind of became a home theater enthusiast. I think it's always really cool to talk about how somebody got into home theater, why you do it, why get all this stuff. And, a lot of people, they see these videos and they think, oh, maybe this person has a lot of money or this person's rich. But it's a journey.
It is,
and
yeah.
We both know that it doesn't happen day one. So I kind of want to get your story. Maybe tell us a little bit about yourself and then how you became a home theater enthusiast, how you got up to this point.
Yeah, certainly. Man, I think it started when I was like a little kid. Like I just always loved like toys and gadgets and electronics of all sorts. And then, computers start coming out, personal computers. I remember we got our first like 486 DX2 when I was like, I don't know, about 11 years old. And, I would learn how to use that thing and play with it. And I did a processor upgrade and fried the processor in the process.
How old were you?
I was like 11 or 12 at
Man,
that time.
smart kid.
Well, not too smart because I fried down a family computer. Um, but I just loved electronics and computers and technology. And then, I think I went as probably like at Best Buy and they had like the Bose demo, out in the middle of the store and
Yeah.
these little tiny satellite speakers. I'm like, that is so cool. And so hanging out at, going to Best Buy, like I just loved looking at all the neat stuff. And, then as I got older and started working so I could buy all these cool toys, a lot of it would be getting stuff off the what do you call it, like off the shelf where it's open box deals.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And getting open box deals. And I started with like a Yamaha receiver, all in one, and some JBL, 5.1 in a box with
Home theater
the
box.
little, like,
Yep.
they're
I had
respectable
those.
little speakers, and they were great. And I was at that time 17 years old, and I had a 27-inch tube
Oh
TV
man,
in my bedroom at home, and I had 5.1 surround sound.
doing a lot better than I was at that age.
Man, and that's why I worked hard. I like cool stuff. I like neat
Right.
toys, right? I like toys. So I really enjoyed. Like I'm the only person I know or knew at that time that had his home bedroom had 5.1 surround sound, right? So I've been into this for a long time. As I and maybe I'm giving you too long of an answer. You can cut this
Oh
down
man.
later, man. But as kind of the journey goes, you moved around, and I would like upgrade one component, and that's what I really think it's cool about home theater is you can upgrade your receiver, upgrade your
Right.
TV, upgrade your speakers, and then I started moving in the clips and. Because most of what I knew was what you could get. Well, Circuit City and Best Buy, but then Circuit City went out of business.
I remember Circuit City.
Yeah, and that guy had a friend, and a lot of hookups. Like I had a friend that worked at Circuit City, and he hooked me up with my first Panasonic 55-inch
Oh man,
plasma.
those things were
Oh,
heavy.
they were heavy, but I felt like I was balling hard
Oh
then.
yeah,
Like that was a huge upgrade to me from a tube TV to a
from 27
plasma.
inch to a.
I
Oh
think
yeah.
that's what it was. I mean, it was like my first flat screen TV when we first got married and had our first house, and so, um, man, I love that. That's a great TV. It never died,
Yeah.
and
Those things were those people love plasmas for a reason. I mean, they had like one of the best pictures. There's still people that still say, "Oh, they need to bring plasmas back," which But
yeah,
back then, man, that was top of the line.
yeah, it was great. And again, I had a friend. He got me a hookup because he worked there, and he hooked me up with a Blu-ray player. Of course, this was the time of the format war of HD
I remember
DVD
that.
versus
I
Blu-ray,
was
and
part of that war.
yeah. Um,
I was team HD
oh,
DVD.
you did?
I
Man, are you
was,
still
man.
sad about it?
Not anymore, just because it's gotten better. But I was because I was kind of like you. I had just got into it, and I got an Xbox 360, and they had come out with
Yep.
the HD DVD drive.
Yep.
So I was like, all right,
Exactly.
I got like my 5 free movies, and then I started hearing about this format war. I'm like, HD DVD is better. And then like, yeah, right when I started investing, I'm like, oh man. So I'm not bummed about it anymore. But
Yeah.
back then, it was a huge bummer because it was like I started investing in this. Now I got to buy a new player. Now like I can't use these discs anymore. So
And now you got to
yeah,
buy it all again digital, right? And
yeah,
HDR and UHD.
yeah.
But yeah, such is the way the Hollywood
Yep.
machine works, right?
Always get
So,
you.
I had that system. Um, I think I kind of stayed with the Clips line for a while, just upgrading within, like, eventually worked my way up to the top of the line that they offered on the floor at Best Buy.
Gotcha.
Um, and I rolled with that for a while. And
And
then,
which clip speakers did you have?
man, I couldn't
If
even
you
tell
remember,
you. I can't even tell you what they are now, model numbers.
were they towers,
They
bookshelf?
were towers.
Okay.
Yeah, they were towers, 5.1. Clip subwoofer. I think it has like 10, 12-inch subwoofer. Nothing too exciting, but
But
yeah,
hey,
I thought
man,
it was great.
yeah,
Um, Eventually, so we moved. Man, when was this? Probably like 2017 time frame, and I had the first time ever I had a home with a dedicated home theater space. And it wasn't huge, but it was purpose built, no windows. And so I wanted to do a screen. I'd never done like a projector and screen. So I went to the local, audio video place, and
Okay.
I had no idea what I was doing. I just pretty much took their word for it, which is like the first time I've ever done that in my life. I just like did whatever they said to do,
Right.
and I bought a package.
Their word is Bible,
Yeah, I think it was more of a, I didn't have the time at that time to go like super
Research
deep
and
in the
stuff, yeah.
research, which is very unlike me, but I hit the easy button on that one. And I got I think it was, so it was a 7.1 system, Epson, I believe it was an Epson 4040 projector
Okay.
and a 120-inch 16:9 screen. Still using a Yamaha receiver. I'd upgraded a few times with Denon and Yamaha throughout the years. And that was like the first like big screen home theater I'd had. And um, man, we just really enjoyed it. It was like a comfortable space, and we're one of those people. We're the weird people that actually use our home theaters like a lot.
Same.
I talked to a lot of my friends that they're like, "Yeah, I bought this, I built this theater. We never go upstairs though." I'm like,
I don't understand it, man. I'm like, I use mine every single day. Movies, games,
yeah,
like everything. I have a TV in my living room, but that's like eating here. But I'd say 95% of the time, all of my content is in the theater.
yeah. I mean, this is my happy place, right?
Right.
This is my refuge from the world. I love to come in here for, and we kind of alternate the kids. We have two kids, right? We have they're almost 13 and 11, 13-year-old son, 11-year-old daughter. They like the home theater, but they're more of the watch everything on your iPad generation, which like, I'm like, do you not realize what you're missing out on?
Exactly.
You have no idea how lucky you are. And yet, sometimes we'll be in the theater and they're still like on their iPads, and it kills me.
Get out of here.
But whatever. It's cool, but they enjoy it too. So we try to alternate between doing like really family friendly stuff and watch that one night, and then we'll watch, just my wife and I will watch a video, mostly movies, and we watch. Look, we're old, so we probably watch about half a movie and then and say, yeah, and that's all we have time for. But I just love to come in here and kind of unwind from the day and watch half a movie and we hang out and enjoy it and unwind and we do that. I would say 5 or 6 nights a week at least. I mean, like, we really put our theater to good use. So, so I had that dedicated home theater at our last house, and so we moved here, and I kind of, I didn't want to. It was a good theater, but it wasn't. There was not a lot of wow. Like, it was. I enjoyed the space, but there didn't have the wow factor to it.
It wasn't your end game.
Nowhere close. And I didn't even know what in-game was until I started going to other people's home theaters, which is why I love doing these gatherings and tours. So if we moved here, and I kind of slow rolled building out this theater. I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted. I had purchased, big fan of LG OLED TVs.
Okay.
They were the game in town for a long time, and so I had acquired a few of those for living room watching and stuff. We had a 77-inch that was the home theater TV, which seems like tiny now because this is 4 of
Yeah,
those.
this is pretty huge.
And we used that for a long time, and it's just a phenomenal image. Enjoyed it. You'll see it out here later. Had a set of Rebel F208 and
Yeah, I saw
C208.
when I walked in. They're pretty big speakers.
Oh yeah, they're 8-inch drivers. They're fantastic speakers. Got those as a a deal. It was a local dealer that he was upgrading to the BEs, and he wanted to get rid of his F208s, and so he gave me a package deal on those 3 speakers, and we just used those 3 speakers and the OLED TV for quite a while, for like probably a year or so as I was trying to figure out what the next thing was going to be.
And that was in your home theater.
That was right here.
Right here.
Yeah,
Okay.
I need to remind me, and I'll send you some pictures
Okay.
of the progression because it's pretty stark. This room, man, I don't even remember what color. This room was like white when I started.
Oh, wow.
So we enjoyed it, but it was far from immersive. The sound was good, you know, running 3.1, pretty weak sub, and I wanted to like really get that immersive feeling, and I just knew, as much as I loved the OLED picture quality, I needed big, and I missed my big screen. So I started designing this theater room,
So
and
let me go
yeah,
back a little
yeah,
bit because you said I forgot. So you had a 100-inch projector screen, but then you went to an LG OLED. So what happened with your projector and your
just it all stayed in the house. The speakers were in
oh
wall.
your
This
previous
the
okay, gotcha.
projector was
So
in
for the
built
next
in.
owner, got
We
it.
just sold it
Okay.
all with the home. Yep. So it all stayed there, which I didn't want to have to like repair drywall and stuff to
Yeah,
sell the
and you got to
house.
take down the screen. You got to pull it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was just they wanted it, so it was part of the deal, and it gave
Okay.
me an excuse to go buy all new stuff, right? Hey, we did okay on the sale of the house, so that helped to fund the
Hey,
next
yeah.
project.
Just throw that into the cost of the house, and
Exactly.
yep.
Yep. So we 77 and the
Okay.
Revel Tower and Center, and we did that for just a while. After doing that, I realized like I didn't like in this space. I don't. I want to see wall to wall screen as close as I can get. I want wall to wall screen. I don't want to see the speakers as much as possible. I just want to see image. And so spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to get the measurements of how do I get the throw distance of the projector? How do I get as wide as I can possibly get? How do I make sure that there's enough room behind the screen so that I can actually fit the
Right.
speakers, but you got to pick speakers first. And every variable, it's like it's a moving target. Like everything you
Hmm.
change affects four or
Yep.
five other things. And so it took me a long time of like, well, I don't know what speakers I want, so I don't know what projector, and I don't know this, I don't know. There was a lot of iteration, and so I actually started with it's like, all right, well, I have the 3.1 system, and the subs were pretty weak, and so I bought those JTR subs.
Okay. What subs were you running before the JTR? If you
That
remember.
was Klipsch. I don't remember the model
Okay.
number, but it was something. It was like a Klipsch 12-inch driver. I think
Gotcha.
I had. I think I had. I feel like I had two of them. Pretty sure I had
Well,
two.
you've come a long way,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
which we'll talk about here in a little bit.
So I did. So I start. First thing I added was those RS2s, and like that was a huge upgrade, right?
Oh yeah.
Like day one. And then I went. Actually, I guess I had a long list of things, but I have a hard time pulling the trigger on something that I've never sat in the chair. I've never seen the projector. I've never
Fair.
listened to the speakers. And talk about analysis paralysis. I've watched YouTube videos, countless hours of Youth Man, countless hours of reading online and all these different opinions and everybody there's no agreement, there's no
Right.
consensus, and did as much as I could. And then M Wave happens and went there. I'm like, hey, this is awesome. This isn't meant to be like an M Wave plug. I'm just telling you, I had a long list of things, and that was cool that I got to like see all that stuff there. And as a matter of fact, this screen that you see here, this is a 150-inch auto masking screen from Seymour. The material is the acoustic transparent Seymour XD,
Okay.
very popular amongst the enthusiasts. So it's a weave, and I think it works out to be like a little bit of a gain. I think it's like 1.0 real gain,
Okay.
but the whole rating system thing where
Right.
it's like, I think it really comes out to be 1.0. And I'm like, okay, that auto masking thing is really cool.
That's
And
awesome,
it
and it makes a huge difference.
huge. I was sold. And I was sworn to like pricing secrecy, but you know, I got a little deal from the Chris Seymour and Evan. They're good dudes, and
Good dude.
yeah, both of
Both of them.
them. They're fun. Got to, you know, talk to the owner of the company of
Right.
like, which
When do you
screen
get to
should
do
I
that?
get? I didn't even know he was the owner when I was talking to him. I was just some guy, just some guy,
He
and
knows a lot about this screen here. You know?
yeah, I know. So I found out later that he was the owner of the company, but he's helping me, and so I picked out the screen, and then needed some seating. I They only had one chair there at the time. That was that particular Valencia chair. It was the Valencia Ultimate
Tuscany,
Luxury
Tuscany. Yeah, I just got
Tuscany
two of those. Yeah.
Tuscany Ultimate. What do you think of them?
So I love them. I bought two of their basically their like bottom line. I think it's the Syracuse edition. I bought
Hmm.
those myself when I first built my riser, and I was like, oh man, this is like I have real theater seats in it. And when I got these, I was like, oh man, this is like a massive upgrade. Like the
Hmm.
leather's just so much softer. The controls, like
Yes.
the option. Yeah, I'm a Valencia fanboy. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna hide it.
So, and I won't say I'm a Valencia fanboy, but I think Valencia it's the best that I've experienced, and I've been to a lot of furniture stores and tried a lot of different stuff. Um, Most of it is the exact same junk, and I think it's all made in the same exact factory.
Probably is.
Um, and it's just kind of underwhelming, especially for the price. And so I got to see this, and I really love like this. The leather on this
It's
is,
so nice,
oh
so
yeah,
soft,
it's
man.
soft. It's
As soon as you
super
touch it, you're
comfortable.
just like, oh yeah,
Yeah,
that
that's what makes these really special. I feel like the functions are pretty good. There's always some like kind of like weird things on controls and stuff that are kind of annoying, and the more the unique features. You know, I wish they were a little more plush and broke in,
yeah.
like cushy. But you know, from everything I've tried, they were by far the best. Um, I still think there's something better out there, but I don't want to pay like five thousand
Yeah,
dollars a
for
chair
a
to get
chair,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, and so I in impulse bought a screen and a chair without any way to get it home, and I was supposed to
That's
fly home.
hilarious.
So
Oh, you're flying home to
yeah,
do it?
yeah.
Oh man.
So Mad Scramble worked out a deal to rent a U-Haul and loaded that stuff and brought it home, and so that I had now defined a few of these variables.
And did your wife know about this?
Oh yeah, of
Okay.
course. Yeah, I'm not one of those like, look guys, don't don't buy stuff and surprise your wife. Like that's
Not a good
not
idea.
a good relationship right there. And
Some guys do it. That's why I asked, because they're like, yeah, I didn't tell my wife, and it's like, well, now I bought it. So and then there's a
man,
whole argument. But yeah,
not advisable. Like you do you, but I would not advise that. But I checked with her first, of course, and but you know, look, we're partners. Like we support each other in all of our
it's
different
awesome.
activities. Like she well, we can talk about more of this later, but yeah, she's very supportive of my interest, and we share those interests. You know, she
That's
gets it.
cool.
Like I said, she comes in here and hangs out.
Yeah. So you
So
got the chairs, or you got the U-Haul.
yep.
You got it to your house somehow.
Yep. Did a little more long-term testing with the Valencia. Decided, yep, it's good. I'm gonna go ahead and buy three more. I got three more to match. I'm like the theme of my theater. I'm calling it the zero margin theater because there is no room at all. There is no room for error. There's no room for error. I have crammed everything in here as tight as I
Perfect
possibly
fit though, man.
can. It works, but like, the chairs, it's just on the edge of being a little too
Like I
wide
don't
for
know
the
if I can
walk
walk through.
area. Yeah.
Yeah.
The screen, well, so that's an interesting story. So I got a good deal on the screen. It's 150-inch diagonal, 16 by 9. So I think it's 120 wide, but I
Okay.
may be off on that a little bit. And I had already owned an NX7 projector that I had used for some testing, but had never like I hadn't mounted. I just had it sitting on a rack in the back here. And so I get this and I figure out like, how am I going to mount the screen, figure out how I'm going to mount it, get it mounted on the wall. I built this kind of, I think it's cool, kind of a floating screen mount for the projector,
nice.
and it's unique. I hadn't seen anybody else do that, and it also helps with reflections on the back wall, and it gets it off the wall so I can put the
Right.
speakers back behind it. And I did as close to the wall as I possibly could, leaving just enough room for the speakers, which you'll see. I mean, I got like a 1/4 inch clearance on the corners because they're towed.
Oh, okay.
So they're not too close to the screen, so it doesn't affect the acoustics. But if you look at the corner of the cabinet, like it's almost touching the screen. So then I do everything, fire up the projector, and didn't quite fill the screen.
Ooh.
And I'm like, uh-oh, what am I going to do now? And I pushed the projector back as far as I could, and I had that as far as I
Oh
could.
man.
And so well, okay, so the wife's supportive, but there's limitations to everything, right? And I said, well, I have a problem. Um, I can't zoom out far enough to get the image to fill the screen. So I had probably 2 or 3 inches on either side. And that was really irritating.
Oh yeah, that would irritate me as
Like,
well.
so I told her, well, I'm going to have to cut a hole in the wall. And she's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, hold on a second. Like, I like your hobby, but I support your hobby.
This is where I draw the line.
But now your hobby is going out into this other room. So I was planning to cut like a porthole. Problem is it's not like a closet on the other side, and
Right.
it's a game room or a gym. And so it would have been like right out in the open and kind of an eyesore. She's like, is there any other way? I'm like, well, as a matter of fact,
I'm glad you
I'm
asked.
glad you asked that question. She's like, look, I don't care. Just do whatever it takes. You do not cut a hole into the gym. I'm like, okay. Or I guess it's originally a game room, not a gym.
Right.
So she gave me the go ahead. So I started making, well, so if you don't know, so I had the NX7.
Okay.
The NZ9 actually gives you about an additional foot
Mm-hmm.
of throw distance. And the benefit of all the wonderful things an NZ9 does. You
Right.
know, it's
Laser.
brighter and the better optics and everything else. So it was, okay, price wise, that was a big jump, but it solved the problem. And you're probably wondering, like, did you not do basic math before you bought all this stuff? It's like, well, I had done the math, but what I didn't account for was making the actual length of the projector. I just wasn't thinking about, like, the fact that the projector's 20 inches deep.
That's funny.
And you have to space it off the wall, too. So, and it's pretty tight.
Yeah.
There's just barely enough room back behind it for cooling. So made some calls, got a good deal on the projector. Like, if you call around and if you put the legwork in, like, there are deals to be had. You probably shouldn't be paying MSRP for anything.
No.
So just for anybody that's out there shopping for gear.
So did you get it? You got a deal on it used or new?
It is new. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I did get a pretty decent deal on that. So I had the screen and the projector, some subs. Around that same time, or at that same time, I had heard the I guess they're RTJ, and I'm like, well, this is amazing. Like, there's what's not to love. And
Right.
so I didn't hear the exact speakers I was gonna buy, but talked to Tony at JTR and at M-Wave and then after, and try to figure out, well, what would be the closest thing. So what I ended up with on the fronts, and this was another one of my design criteria. I wanted wall-to-wall screen, or as close as I could. It had to be acoustic transparent screen because I didn't want to see the speakers in this room, and I really wanted identical LCR. I
That's
feel
the way to
like
go.
that, like,
If you can.
yeah. I mean, for this, I just wanted to find a way to make that happen, and so, but that drives a lot of other design decisions in your room. So I ended up with the 212, the JTR Noesis 212 RTs.
Okay.
They have two 12-inch drivers, these massive horn tweeters, and I didn't even think about this at the moment, but you had asked me like what subs did you have before? Well, I had like one clipped 12-inch sub.
And your LCR has two of them in one.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man.
Like given perspective to the size of these things. So I ordered those 212 RTs, and I at the same time ordering surrounds for JTR is pretty simple because I couldn't fit towers anywhere else in my
Right.
room. It would have been extremely crowded and extremely expensive. And there's only one surround speaker option. Well, technically two. It's the same speaker, and you can either get it in a straight or a slant.
Yeah.
So,
Those are pretty big. Like those are
well,
some.
they're 10-inch drivers,
Yeah.
10-inch
That's really
coaxial
big.
drivers. And so we have six of the bed layer 110 HTs
Okay.
and four Atmos. The Atmos are the slants. I've got everything angled towards the main listening position. I guess technically the middle of the room. Wide slants up here, which I'm happy with. Like I'm glad that I did that. I think it was a good use of money.
Yeah, I wish I had room for. My room is like exactly 10 feet wide, so I don't have, and I've got a window on the
Hmm.
right side, so I don't have room for wides. I mean, it still sounds good, but I would like to. I wish I had the opportunity just to try it to see how it sounds.
Yeah.
I've done the six in ceilings or six, height speakers. That sounds amazing, but
Hmm.
I've always heard people say that wide sound really good, even though there's not a whole lot of content, and I don't think Dolby upmixes and surround to wides.
Yeah, and I hear a lot of conflicting information about that, and people have like I mean, this is AV. There's
Right.
no shortage of opinions on anything, and it was kind of like, well, I don't know which way do I go. I think it's really cool. You heard it. We can do some demos also later, like kind of with and without, and so for some content it upmixes to it. For some things it does. Like use the HTTP one from Monolith,
That
Monoprice
thing,
Monolith.
I'm impressed.
It's really cool, and it does synthesize the wides.
Okay.
I'm happy with it. I think it's cool, and then the left and right and the rear surrounds are also 110 HTs.
Okay. So you have a 9.8.4.
Yeah, and it's getting harder and harder to know what that middle digit is now.
Yeah. Sometimes I get tripped up. I'm like, wait a minute. Okay. Yeah.
So technically, I have the HTTP one. I think I
That's a
actually
16 channel, right?
yeah, it's a
Okay.
16 channel, and I bought that HTTP one. Um, uh, Actually, that was before M Wave also.
Okay.
I had bought that. That was a big purchase for me. Like that was like it was just the processor
Yeah. And that was
and
your first processor too,
first
right?
ever, yeah.
Okay.
First ever to have a processor, but it had some really great reviews on it, and I think it's a fantastic value for what it is, like relative to the rest of the market.
Right. Dirac.
Dirac, it was at the time it was one of the few that had Dirac live bass control
Oh,
as an
really?
option.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
A lot more products do now, but
Yeah.
this was like, late 2020, I think,
Okay.
or maybe 21. And so 16 channel processor, but I'm also running a mini DSP. And so that
Okay.
is, I'm using two more channels off of that, and it takes up one channel.
Okay.
Actually, I'm using three more channels, and it consumes one channel. See, I told you it gets confusing. But channel wise, the front subs are on independent channels, and then the third sub channel drives a mini DSP. The mini DSP
Okay.
drives one channel is the four near field subwoofers, and then a recent addition is I have four Crowson motion actuators, and there are shakers on the chairs too, but I'm not really using them because I just prefer the Crowsons.
Okay.
So
So yeah, let's talk about the speakers for a little bit. So you've
yeah,
got what you talked about already. You've got your JTR speakers, you've got the subs. We're going to talk about that a little bit more too. But what so before you went to M-Wave, and I know you said the first JTR speakers you bought were the subs, right?
hmm
So had you heard JTR before that at all?
Nope, not at all. That one though, it's like doing my research, it seemed that they were pretty much the undisputed sub champion from most of my YouTubing and AVS forum research. That I couldn't find anybody saying anything bad about those subwoofers other than like, they're pricey, but I got kind of lucky and I got in there a little before the prices started skyrocketing. I mean all prices, all
Yeah,
the
it's
inflation
COVID and
prior.
all that
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
So I got in there fairly early, but yeah, that was a leap of faith. But nobody had anything. People I trust, people, friends, personal friends, and said like you can't go wrong with this. So took a leap of faith, and I haven't been upset about it at all.
Yeah, so my first experience with, because I was the same, like, I was always on YouTube. I mean, I follow, Youth Man and all the other people, and I kept hearing about JTR, and I was like, JTR, who is that?
Hmm.
And this was either before the pandemic or maybe like right when the pandemic happened. And so I started looking because I was also thinking about the future, wanting to upgrade, and I started looking, I saw the price, and I was like, oh, I can't afford that. But I was like, man, everybody says these things are awesome. So my first experience with JTR was at M-Wave.
Hmm.
And
This year,
this year
yeah,
that we both met at, and phenomenal. My only thing was that the rooms, so those rooms are so massive. I mean, you saw it.
hmm.
Those rooms are literally the same size as my house. My house is like 1444, and I believe they said it was like 1400 square
Wow,
feet. So I'm like, okay, it sounds amazing in here, but I want to see how it sounds in a more controlled environment.
yeah,
So when you told me you had JTR, I was like, all right. And dude, those demos that we those demos that we played a couple demos before we sat down. I can't I can't even begin to describe to you what it felt like. First of all, he's got 8 subs in here. 18 inches, right?
correct.
18-inch subs, which is insane. I have never felt bass like that before. And I'm using the word felt because you feel it. And I know he's got some crosses in here, but I was telling you, like, there were certain parts of my back that I was like, I've never felt bass do that to,
Yeah,
to my back. It's incredible. And I'll try to get some B-roll, but he's got four subs back here near field. And man, like, we were listening at reference a couple of those, right?
yeah, some of them.
So no distortion. Like, man, it was impressive. I haven't heard anything like that. And like, I have not heard or felt bass like that before, especially near field. Like, I was laughing just because I was like, this is ridiculous, but in a good way. Like, it's amazing, man. You did an amazing job.
Well, hey, I appreciate it. And for me, like, what gives me a lot of joy is being able, I think some people think that it's just, somebody showing off all their expensive toys. And for me, it's not it at all. To me, it's about sharing an experience. Like, to see your face when I played that first demo and you just kind of like,
I haven't heard. Yeah, I was like, dude, is this like? I'm not kidding. And I told you after it finished, I was literally genuinely concerned for the infrastructure of your house because
yeah,
like your screen was shaking, and I was like, is like, can his house
are
take
we
this?
okay?
I haven't heard bass like that ever, like in a controlled
Yeah.
environment. That was wild.
And I love just like seeing people's reactions when they see, because most people haven't experienced anything. I hadn't.
Man,
I mean, hey, props to Youth Man and Ryan for doing M-Wave because I probably would have never got to experience that if I hadn't.
yeah,
And once you feel it, like you're instantly addicted. That tactile, just like
yeah, I'm
you're
addicted.
in it. You're in
Yeah,
it.
it's yeah. You feel like you're. I mean, you feel like you're there. Like there was what was the one scene? Oh, Interstellar. Like that was the first time when I've watched that scene where the rocket is taking off. Where I was like, I feel like I'm in this rocket right
Yeah.
now. Like I feel like I'm sitting right next to all these other actors. Like it's so real, man. It was incredible. So yeah, let's talk about that M Wave because that was your first. You had the subs, and then you went to M Wave, and then you heard JTR speakers there, right?
Yep.
And then you were like, "That's it." I mean, so were you courting any other speaker brands before that, or was it just like, let me go here and see what these sound like, and then that was it for you?
Um, no, I'd recently purchased those Revel towers,
Okay.
right? And so Revel's known for being a very neutral, very uh, what's the word I'm looking for? Scientifically developed speaker,
Okay.
right? Double blind test. Um, who is it? Harman
Harman
makes it.
Kardon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh, so very like measurement focused, but also takes the objective experience into it. But a lot of blind testing, very neutral, very capable speaker, and I love them. I still own them. I couldn't let them go. I may have said that I was going to trade speakers, but they just got moved down the line because I can't let them go. They're fantastic speakers. What I was considering, where I was conflicted though, is I had three, right,
Okay.
and I needed surrounds and I needed Atmos. I actually bought some Revel speakers to put in the ceiling, and they're in that cabinet right there. I think they're 10-inch in-ceiling speakers, but
Okay.
I was never like, I don't know, too crazy about like in-ceilings that you're kind of limited on exactly where you can. They look nicer,
Right.
but you're limited on where you can place them, and you're limited on how you can't aim them. Right, you can't
Right.
aim tweeters, and I was a little skeptical of that, and so I wasn't sure if I wanted to even install those and cut holes in the drywall. I also didn't know what to do for surrounds. If you look at the Revel Performa 3 Series surrounds, I think the only thing they have to offer are these like dipoles, and I don't know, they're kind of, I just wasn't in love, and I
Hmm.
wasn't ready to pull the trigger on that. And so before I bought, how many speakers do I have? 13, right? So I got 13 plus, well, I ain't even thinking about these in the back yet. But I own three. Before I buy 10 more speakers, I wanted to like really be sure. Um, and so I went to M-Wave, but to me, the big part of it, I paid the money to do the VIP, mostly because I wanted to go to the different homes and hear the different like setups in homes. And one of the hosts, Grant, had a full JTR system too. I
Okay.
forgot to mention that earlier. And I really enjoyed his system. Like he put on a great demo. Um, I mean, it's true what they say. Like once you go to these things, like you can't go backwards
It
after that.
For me, it's almost like it ruins your theater. It's like
It's
now I
kind of
gotta,
sad.
yeah.
It's a
It's
little
like,
sad.
oh man, now I gotta do this whole upgrade thing again. I mean, but yeah, it's almost just like my theater sounds good, but it doesn't sound like this.
Yeah. And it's not that you don't still appreciate
Right.
what you
Right.
have. It's just it gives you, and to me that's fun. It's like the chase of, I don't believe in in game. I like, to me you just like you're chasing it and enjoy what you have while you have it, but always looking for ways to like tweak and fine tune and do the next thing. But like in enjoying the journey while you're on the journey. But
Right.
there's always new tech coming out, so I don't think that I'll ever get to a point where it's like done because, and then it kind of, I like to enjoy it, but I also like the pursuit as well. So I got to hear those JTRs at Grant's house. I got to hear the ones at M-Wave. I got to do, I mean, props to Jonathan for the on the tour for the Interstellar demo, because
Yeah, I've heard
it's
that
like,
his place is pretty incredible
oh
too.
yeah, he's got a fantastic setup, and like once you've ridden the rocket, like you got to do it again, you
Yep.
know. But it didn't happen instantly. Like it's been a process.
Yeah. Awesome, man. So let's talk about a little bit about your acoustic treatment. So I notice you've got a lot of acoustic treatment. I think that's one area where a lot of people don't give enough attention. And I see you've got a couple, you've got some diffusion and you've got some, looks like some absorption.
Correct.
So what kind of acoustic panels you got there?
So I these are GIK acoustic panels. I'm not even sure exactly how many I have. I got these from a forum member that's local that was upgrading, and he was unloading them for pretty cheap. So I just picked up
Nice.
all of them.
That's what you got to
Um,
do, guys. See, you're getting deals all over the place, man. You gotta research. You can find deals,
yeah,
even if it's used gear sometimes. But Man, just look around, ABS forum, all that stuff. Sometimes people are trying to get rid of stuff and they'll give you a good deal on it.
Yeah. Yeah, new and used stuff. You can
Right.
pick up deals when you just have to be ready to act quick whenever something
Yeah.
happens.
That
Like
stuff
be
doesn't
ready.
stay
Yeah,
on the
it doesn't
market
stick
long.
around. But I will say out of everything that I want to I like the next step for me for this theater is going to be the acoustics because I don't really know a whole lot about it. I know kind of your basics, first reflections, try to
Right.
do some diffusion and some absorption. In terms of like scientifically figuring this out, I haven't. I've heard a lot about like the quadratic diffusers and things and
Yeah.
some really
You
cool
can get
stuff on the
super
ceiling.
scientific with that stuff.
So I really want to learn more about that and get that dialed in. I feel like it's good because when you walk in the room, like we got a lot of hard surfaces in this home, hardwood
You
floors.
can tell.
It's pretty echoey, but when you walk in and close, like
Quiet.
you can,
Yeah.
like it's pretty drastic. Um, is it done properly? I don't know. Like
Yeah.
I
I
think
just
it's
slapped them on the walls. I mean, I same thing. I did the first reflection points, but same thing with one of my friends whenever they come over. I remember specifically one time my friend walked in my theater and he's like, I just love sitting in here because it's so quiet.
same.
And when you walk out, it's just like this echo
Yep.
of, yeah,
I hate the echoiness. I mean, that's why I say this is my happy place. I
yeah,
come in
man.
here. It's nice to come in here just to like do, even if I'm just going to do like a Zoom call for
Right.
something, like just because it's like, it's
It's
quiet.
calming, it's
Yeah.
quiet, and yeah, acoustics are just great.
So, as far as no, I haven't refined that. I haven't done a ton of research. I bought $400 worth of panels and used and hung them on the wall, kind of
That
evenly
sounds good,
distributed.
man.
But it made a big difference just doing
Oh,
that.
yeah,
Huge
definitely,
difference.
definitely. And then so you got the JVC NZ9. How you like that thing, man? Because I've seen that twice. I've seen it at M-Wave, and I believe I saw it at CES.
Yeah.
It looks like an OLED. Like it's not. When I heard people say that, I'm like, it's a projector. No,
Yeah,
it
I know. Well, I think if we say that, we'll probably get flamed for saying it's like OLED
probably in the
like.
comments. Yeah,
I know. It, I mean, obviously, nothing is like really OLED like other than an OLED, but I think it is so good. And I'm also using a MADVR NV Mark II,
okay,
so that that helps a
that
lot
helps
as
a
well.
lot.
Yeah, it's almost like cheating. So for this size screen, it's really good. I get like 120 nits on the screen. Um, it's everything about it's amazing. The color is amazing. I'm not using the tone mapping built into the JVC, but I did for a
And it's
year and
supposed
a
to be
half.
pretty
It
good.
was it was it was it definitely good. It's nothing. It's hard to say. Like it's extremely good. It's still not anywhere close to Mad
Oh
VR.
no, you're not gonna get close to that to the Mac VR.
Yeah, so I love the brightness. I run it in the high bright mode. Yeah, I have a little extra fan noise, but I'm like, why have a
Same,
projector that can do 3,000
and you're
lumens
not gonna use it.
and not use it?
Yeah,
Like, I use every bit of it, and you don't hear it once you start playing a movie. As far as like the image quality, it's unless like everything side by side, you can obviously see some pretty drastic difference. If we wheeled an OLED in here and put it right next to
yeah,
the
right.
screen, it would be obvious. But you know what? 10 seconds after turning this on, I'm so engrossed in everything that's going on, like the immersion. You have a 45-degree viewing angle,
It's
the
awesome.
sound. You kind of forget, like, I got no complaints. And that was something I was very concerned about that, like, I didn't want it to feel like I really wanted a big screen for immersion. I wanted that 45-degree viewing angle with, but I didn't want it to feel like a downgrade
Right.
into like some subpar, gray screen, right? Oh man, we're almost sorry. Oh, we
Oh
got
yeah, we got a little bit.
yeah, so we have like 15 or 20 friends showing up in about 5 minutes, just FYI.
Okay.
But I'm enjoying this, so we can keep going.
Yeah, yeah. So let's why don't we go over to your rack and see what's in your rack, and then we'll come back and finish up.
All right, Jordan. So I've been dying to show you my rack since you got here. So let me walk you through it. What I have is and I already forgot now. I think it's a 48U rack. It's the biggest one that I can get, and it's on rails that I have to install at the bottom, and it will roll out so I can get access to the back of the rack. I'll actually start you in the middle because this is the hub of the whole operation. This is the Monolith HTP1 processor. It's a 16-channel processor I bought when it came out a few years ago. I've been extremely happy with it because it supports Rack Live with bass control. It was preamp only. It's a processor, all XLR outputs, and I really appreciate the value that it provides relative to other products in the market that are similar. I feel like this is an extremely good value. It's got a lot of community support. The company Monolith or Monoprice has been very good at making firmware updates and improvements to it over the years. And it has a great user community to where there's even a custom user interface that was made by a forum enthusiast. And Monolith eventually incorporated that into the base firmware. So you can use that. Additionally, it's really cool because it supports bass EQ. And I don't think there are any other products that do that other than like Mini DSP. So speaking of Mini DSP, above it, you can't see it. It's in here and it's plugged into one of the channels on the HTP1. I ran out of channels in my room. So for the tactile channels go into the back for the near field subs and for the Crowsons, I'm running those off the Mini DSP. So it splits. Well, in my application, I'm only using 2 of those channels. So I'm taking one and splitting that into 2 other independently controlled channels. Moving up, we have the MADVR. This is the MADVR NV Extreme Mark II. It's an amazing piece of hardware that I first saw it in person at M-Wave the first time, 2022. And it's one of those things that like you just don't, you have to experience it for yourself to believe how amazing it is, and seeing the side-by-side comparison. It took me a long time to get to the point where I could bring myself to buy it because it's not cheap, but nothing else is, there's just nothing quite like it on the market. I got that bug and it took, like I said, it took about 1.5 years, and I finally took the plunge. Once I got done paying for it, there's been no regret whatsoever, and I love it. But yeah. So next one up the list is sources. So my primary source and most all of my viewing is from the Kaleidescape. That was another one that I saw for the first time firsthand at M-Wave, and for me, I know it's another luxury item, but it's one that I really enjoy. Prior to this, I was mostly an Apple TV guy. I own a pretty decent catalog on iTunes. But I was watching on a much smaller screen with a much less or inferior sound system. And it was okay for that. But then when I blew everything up big and added all these wonderful speakers, it just, the quality just wasn't there, especially on the audio side. So having been spoiled with doing digital only everything for so long, to me, going back to disc felt like a step backwards. I didn't want to do that, and I considered alternatives, you know, ripping disc, but the Kaleidescape just, it works so well. It's like the Apple of high res, the Apple TV of high res media. It just works. It's very convenient. It's superb quality, and because of that, you know, it's the only one in its class, and that's why it costs what it does. But it's been a great one. I have a Panasonic UB820. I only use it for playing Spears and Munsell, and I think that's all I've ever played on it, but I have it there because you can't get Spears and Munsell on a Kaleidescape. Moving up from there, I have a Zidu Z1000 Pro. I have that. I use it mostly for doing demos when people come over for playing like Dolby Amaze and the other like THX trailers. I don't. One of the downsides of Kaleidescape is as wonderful as it is doing high res movies. You can't play any like rip content, so you can't play THX trailers on it, and you can't stream on it. So that's unfortunate. It would be cool if those things were possible someday, but I don't expect that to be. So for playing those, I use the Zidu. Of course, I got my Apple TV. I do still stream, especially some shows just aren't even available on Kscape and especially TV shows. That's whatever the current generation is. I have an NVIDIA Shield that I bought to kind of play with, and to be honest, I think I've turned it on once and I haven't used it since then. But I have it there. I got it to kind of play with Plex and things before I got to Kaleidescape. All right, so that's starting at the hub and working my way out to the sources. Down below, it's power. So the first thing I have is a Behringer Init 6000D. I actually have two of those. Those are for driving the UM18 subs, the near field subs in the back. And one sub is driven off of each channel, so 3000 watts per sub. Down below that, I have an NX 3000D, and I'm using that to drive the Crowson motion actuators under the chairs. Below that, we have just some AC Infinity fans to keep the amps cool. I have two Buckeye amps. They're both NC502 modules. The top one's a 6-channel. The bottom one is an 8-channel, and that drives same thing for every one of the speakers. Below that, I have a Furman, what is it, a PI 20 Elite 20, a 20 amp power strip and surge protector, primarily using it for controlling the amps, for turning amps on and off. And then below that, I have an APC, I think it's a 1500 battery backup, and have all of the the MADVR, the HTTP1, and all the sources plugged into that, so that when there's a power outage, which as we experienced a few times the other day, sometimes it gets a little loud and I occasionally can trip a breaker in here, but that way it doesn't cut power to all the devices. I think that's everything in my rack. Oh, one other thing I did mention, controlling heat. I got a lot of heat generating devices in here. This cabinet was already in here when I bought the house, and it's kind of making the best use of this space, but it had no provisions for cooling. So I installed a 8-inch AC Infinity cooling system that it vents out the top and runs into the return for the air conditioning system, and then it draws fresh air in from the bottom. And that's my rack.
All right, Rusty, so let's talk about your room dimensions and then a little bit about the room build.
Yeah, so when we bought this house in 2020, so we lived here just over 3 years, it had a dedicated home theater. It had nothing in it. I mean, I think it had some sort of pre-wiring, but it was pretty pathetic. Nothing's in the right place. I don't know. Builders don't know what they're doing when they build these things out.
Sometimes they don't pay attention.
Every speaker is on the ceiling, even for all the surrounds.
Yeah,
it makes no sense.
Come on.
So it was basically a clean slate. The room was painted like kind of this light gray. I don't remember what carpet was in here. So we swapped out the carpet, painted black ceiling. The walls are a dark gray. What is it called? From Sherwin-Williams. I can't think of the name of it now, but because the problem with the pure flat black is it shows everything.
It does. If you scrape it or you nick it, it shows, and it's like this little it's almost like it looks white.
Yeah.
I know
Like you
exactly what you're
just
talking about.
touch it and it looks messed up. So, and to give it a little bit more like aesthetic appeal. So I wanted it dark for the room, but so it's about as dark as you can get without going black, but it gives it a little more character, a little more aesthetic appeal. Black trim, new carpet, the room dimensions. Um, it's pretty good. I just wish it was a little bit bigger. The because I'm cramming so much in here. Like I mean, there's no margin. When I say zero margin, there's zero
You have
margin.
maximized
I've
your space.
maximized the space. The room is 14 feet wide.
Okay.
The depth is 18 and a half. Ceilings, I think it's like 10 foot and 11 foot, like 11 in the middle, and
Okay.
I don't know what you call that feature, but the
Yeah.
recess.
So that's a really good. I wish my ceiling is 8 feet, and I had the option when the house was being built. I could have gone to 9 feet, but it would have added on like another 4 grand,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just me, and so I had a budget, and I was like, man, I couldn't do it. And I mean, it still sounds good, but I would love to have like 9 or even 10 foot ceiling. So you've got very good separation with
Mm-hmm.
your height speakers. So you have that big tall, you know, depth of stuff coming at you from above. It doesn't sound like it's like right here.
Yeah,
It's perfect.
yeah. And I think we're sitting, if I remember correctly, our eyes are 11 feet from an 11-foot widescreen.
Yes. Yeah, it's super immersive. I like it a lot. So the room build, you basically did everything in here yourself. I mean, once the room was already obviously built, but
Yeah, so the basic room was built, but there was no gear, no wiring, no anything. I did all that myself, and that's probably why this project took so long, or added to the length of it. A lot of climbing. It's like my least favorite thing to
oh
do is
man, you got to
climbing
go on the
through.
walls and run. Yeah, I've done that.
Yeah,
It's not fun.
the pink fluffy stuff in the
Oh man,
attic in the middle of the summer, because I always time things terribly. It's always in the
funny.
middle of the summer. um, Having my wife and kids like, can you see it? Trying to fish it down the wall. Can you
Imagine
see
doing
it?
it by yourself.
Oh, I don't know how you do it by
I
yourself.
did it. It wasn't easy and it wasn't fun, but I did it. Well, mainly when I went to the build, thankfully I had a builder where you can basically customize everything. I
Hmm.
had them run all the wires.
That's good.
So I was like, I want a speaker here, I want a speaker here. So they ran that, but they forgot to run. It was like 1 or 2 wires when I moved in. I was like, oh, so they had to come in and they had to, yeah, 2 guys. They had to do the same thing. They had to, find out where the wire is, stick a fish up, and they did that. But then I added 4 additional speaker terminals myself,
Hmm.
and I had to go into the ceiling. I had to go in the attic. I had to cut, and I had to. Thankfully, I just went from the ceiling down. I didn't go in the wall, but then I had to go over the ceiling and then down, and I had to cut hole, and then I had to go through a closet. Like it was, yeah, it wasn't fun. I'm like, I'm doing this once, and then I'm done.
Yeah, yeah. Running wires is probably one of my least favorite
Yeah,
things to
especially if you
do.
have to go in wall. It's not fun.
And I was running, so it's run in wall inside the AV
Mm,
area. That had some like built-in shelves. I knocked those out and ran all the wires in the wall. And then of course, I thought I was future-proofing, and I kind of did. And then I learned about like Crowsons and near-field subs, and so then I had to come back in later and add
yeah,
more wires. It's like, and I know if I had really had the walls opened up, I would have done the Smurf tube, but I
yeah.
didn't.
I wish I
I'm
would have done that.
so that's a man. It's a huge thing. If you have the ability, like,
Do it, man.
do it and do 3 times as much as you think in
Yep.
terms of Smurf tube. Um, but yeah, I installed all the speakers myself. Designed, kind of configured everything myself. The subs. Oh, I forgot to. I didn't really touch on that. So the rear subs, the near field subs, those are built off the Parts Express kits.
Oh yeah.
Um, they're just the Dayton Audio UM18-22 and the 4 cubic foot cabinet kits that they make. It's a process, but it's not hard to build. And from a value standpoint, like, I love the
That's what I hear.
JTR subs, and if I could have put like 4 RS1s, like
Oh
one
man.
behind each seat, I would have. But you're talking like 12, 13 grand versus I built all four of these for like
Yeah.
three-ish. I can't remember exactly.
And it hits, man. So I mean, you don't need to upgrade. I mean, I get it. Like I would do the same, but
Yeah.
yeah, you don't need to do anything else to this
It
stuff.
doesn't disappoint. And especially
That
for
does
near
not
field
disappoint.
duty, like I don't have any complaints and I got
Neither do
four for
I.
one.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Okay. Sorry. Just trying to make
No.
sure I think I covered that.
Yeah, I think we covered everything, man. I mean, it's amazing in here. It looks beautiful. Like everything is clean. You got your little nice little sink and counter over here. But man, it sounds impressive in here, dude. Like I didn't know what to expect from a controlled environment JTR system, but man,
Yeah.
this thing rocks. Like that. The thing that stands out the most for me is the bass, man. Because some people will like, why do you need 818s?
Yeah.
But you have so much headroom, and even listening at reference, like my ears weren't fatigued. I wasn't, because you told me, you're like, hey man, if at any point let me know, turn it down. I was like, nah man, this is, I want to experience it, zero fatigue.
Well,
So
that was something that I didn't even understand until just, a few years ago, is there is a massive difference between just pick a volume, say 90 dBs. 90 dBs on speakers that are distorting bad is hard. It's painful.
yep.
It's grating. I was telling you earlier, my wife, so even with some of the other speakers I've had, she would always complain. Wife and kids always complain. Volume is too loud. And I like my movies. Like I don't want to be deaf. I don't watch at
Right.
reference all the time, but it's usually -5 or -10 depending on the movie. And I want to be immersed in it. And they would complain that the volume, turn it down, and there was always a little bit of a volume battle. And once I got the JTRs, and what's great with the HTP1, there's no on-screen display of the volume controls, and I like that because I don't like the thing that pops up on the
Right.
screen. And I can secretly on my phone like
Turn it
nudge
up.
the volume up a
Nobody
little
else
bit at a
knows.
time, and they don't really notice.
It's funny.
But what's funny is that they don't even complain about the volume at all because like when you have a clean 90 dB, it is way different
Yep.
than dirty 90 dB. And that's what I love about this setup. I really enjoy it.
Well, you did a
So,
great job, man. And
man,
yeah,
thank you.
thank you for letting me take over your room for a little bit. It's been an awesome experience. Like we're gonna watch some more demos, and hopefully, you're not gonna get the same experience that we're gonna get. But I might try to get some demos in here to show you guys. But it's all you guys that have JTR, especially in Kansas City. Like I know why you love your JTR stuff because
Yeah.
it's awesome. So
Well, and hey, we got like, well, they're probably showing up already. And I just want to say, like, so what we're about to do, uh, some a first M wave, right? And then sorry, I don't mean to turn your video into an M wave
nah, man, I'm
commercial.
gonna be there. So go ahead.
But so first M wave, I met some guys from Dallas, in the DFW Metroplex. We're spread out about an hour or so, and we hooked up, and we managed to stay in contact throughout these and have some meetups every month or two. We're not perfectly scheduled about it. There's my doorbell going off. So we started to gather, and then we've been adding to the group and trying to recruit more people and get more people involved. We've got and then at M Wave this most recent year, I met a few guys. Like 3 of those guys are coming this time. I'm inviting friends. We met over like we at Freddy's just eating burgers, and then now you're hanging out at my house.
Yeah, and I was like, man, I want to come down there because I did the tour in Houston with the Perlis, and so I was like, I don't want to say it was a trial, but I was like, based on how this goes, I want to come down here and film some more tours. So I've got 3 more. This is the first one today. I've got 2 more tomorrow, and I've got one on Sunday. So it's gonna be pretty interesting to see because you're gonna get to see different budgets, different size rooms. People that have budget home theaters, and you've got like a pretty awesome focal. So yeah, man.
That's a good story too, because one of the guys that's coming tonight, 6 months ago, he came to a demo at my house. He wasn't a theater guy at all. He got hooked
Yes,
so bad that now he got the bug. He built a theater over the past 6 months, which you're going to do a tour of tomorrow. And you can see how much, like, this is a budget home theater. And I don't mean to say that, like, it's not in a negative way at all.
Right.
Like, he's done a lot. He's been efficient with his funds. That sounds better than budget.
That sounds better.
That sounds a lot better than budget. Very efficient with his funds. But, like, I love that you got some people that didn't even know that they liked this. We hung out, had some good food, just had fun, played it loud, and then now he's got his own theater and he's sharing that with other people.
Awesome.
And we're about to hang out with like 15 or 20 like home theater dorks. And some people that don't even know what they're getting themselves into. So that'll be fun too.
That's awesome. Yeah, I might try to get some reactions. I don't know.
Yeah.
Depending on whether they feel comfortable. But thank you guys for watching, man. Rusty, thank you for this experience. It's been awesome.
Man.
And I'm looking forward to the rest of the tours that we're going to be doing over the next couple of days. So for those of you watching, let us know down in the comments what you think of Rusty's home theater. What was your favorite part? Do you have JTR speakers? Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next video.